Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. It's a beautiful, cool fall day today and I thought it'd be a great idea to review some hot teas. I'm going to be reviewing two teas. The first tea I'm going to be reviewing is Chinese restaurant tea, Dynasty Chinese restaurant tea to be specific. You can see the box right there. After I review Chinese restaurant tea, I'm also going to be reviewing one of my favorite teas, green tea with roasted rice, made by Yamamoto. You can see the box right there. After I'm done reviewing the teas, I'm going to end my food review by enjoying some DARS chocolate. This is a Japanese chocolate which I purchased at Mitsuya. If you've seen my reviews before, you know that I love purchasing products from the store, and they got a lot of really good stuff there. So let's start off by trying some of these teas. Now, first tea, as I said, is Chinese restaurant tea, which is actually a mixture of three different types of teas. You got green tea, you got jasmine tea, and you got oolong tea. Now, all of these teas come from the same plant, which is Camellia sinensis. So it all derives from the same plant. However, how the tea is produced is what makes each of these teas different. So let's start off with how green tea is made, because that is arguably some of the simplest tea. Green tea is pure green tea leaves. There's no oxidation involved, which is why it's green. And green tea has an earthy, grassy taste when you sip it. Now, the more you oxidize tea, or the tea leaves, I should say, the more it becomes bruised and brown. And if you oxidize tea at 100%, 90 to 100%, I should say, you get black tea. And people say, and I would agree with them, that the darker the tea gets through oxidation, the more sweet the tea becomes, it becomes richer, and it can become more bitter. So, I say this because there's a little bit of oxidation that goes along with oolong tea. To be specific, oolong tea is oxidized at 8% to 85%. So, within that range, if it's oxidized at between those percentages, it's oolong tea. Oolong tea is a Chinese tea, and the name oolong, I've read that it means dark green. Okay, so it's not black tea, it's not that dark, but it's not green tea. So it's a darker green. And if you can see in my teacup, you can see here, this has, like I said, a mixture of oolong. And you can see right there, it's a little dark. I don't know if you can see, but it's not completely black. Compare this to the green tea with roasted rice. You can see that that's less viscous. It's much more green, much more clear than the oolong tea. Interesting thing about oolong is that because it's kind of the mid-range oxidation tea, right? Oolong tea can be very expensive because, tea connoisseurs, they believe that if you can get it at a, perfect percentage, specific percentage of oxidation, the tea comes out much better. And so if you go online, you can actually find some oolong tea which goes for $200 a pound. And I'm sure there's some out there that go for even more. I should also mention a lot of, what goes into the cost of the tea has to do with where the tea leaves are grown and exactly how it's oxidized, and there's other variables involved. Anyway, that's what oolong tea is. Now, how about jasmine tea? So jasmine tea is just green tea, okay? Tea from that same plant that's not oxidized, and it's infused with the jasmine flower. Hence why jasmine tea tastes flowery. And then on my right, I have the green tea with roasted rice. And I'll get into this, but first I'm going to try the Chinese restaurant tea. All right. It's very good. I can definitely taste the mixture because, like I was saying earlier, the darker it is, it tends to taste more bitter. It tends to taste more sweet. So I can still taste that earthiness from green tea, that almost like a grassy flavor, but a good grassy flavor, mixed in with a darker oolong. It's a little bit richer. Even though it's not thicker, it feels more thick on your mouth when you drink oolong, and feels a lot more thick when you drink black tea. Along with that, I can taste the flower, the flowery taste of jasmine. I like it a lot, but I'm just a big fan of jasmine. So if we're gonna do a mix of the three, green tea, oolong, and jasmine, I'd like a little bit more jasmine because I taste a little bit of the floweriness from the jasmine plant, but it's a little faint. Overall, it's a good tea. All right. So, the next tea I'm going to be drinking today, and I would be lying to you if I was saying I was trying this today, because I drink this all the time, and that's the green tea with roasted rice. I'll show the box again. This is this is the tea from Yamamoto Yama. I looked up this company, and apparently it's a family business, and they claim that they're the oldest tea business around. I don't know if that's true. That's what they claim on their website. They say that they've been around selling tea since the 1600s. So, green tea with roasted rice. It's exactly what it says it is. It's green tea along with roasted rice. Non-oxidized, pure green tea, and it has bits of roasted rice in there. It's a mix. Whenever I drink green tea with roasted rice, and just to point out, it's actually a Japanese tea. It's not a Chinese tea. But whenever I drink it, I feel like it's a more refined green tea, because there's just something about green tea that sometimes tastes a little too herbal for me, a little too earthy. And the roasted rice kind of calms it all down. It makes that earthiness more subtle. And there's just something really tasty about that rice too. It seems like it's more refined. It seems like it's just of higher quality than just regular green tea. Funny though that in Japan, it's actually the cheaper, or at least historically was, the cheaper version of green tea, is a cheaper option, I should say, because of that mix of rice, and roasted rice is cheap, along with the green tea, which is a little bit more expensive. It was a cheaper option for people, so it's the lower status tea technically, yet I feel that it's far superior than regular green tea. How green tea with rice was made is also kind of a interesting story. And there's a Japanese legend that long ago there was a samurai, and every morning he would have a servant who would bring him his green tea. Well, one day the servant accidentally dropped some roasted rice into his green tea, and nevertheless still served him the tainted green tea. Well, the samurai realized that roasted rice had tainted his green tea, and he did what anybody would do. He took out a samurai sword and beheaded his servant. After he beheaded his servant, I don't know why, the story goes that he drank the tea anyway and realized that with the roasted rice, the green tea was actually better. So from that day on, to commemorate his servant, every day he would drink his green tea with roasted rice. What a prick. But you know what? I agree with him. It is better. All right, so enough of that. Let's try it. So flavorful. Flavorful, yet subtle. It's really hearty. I love that taste of roasted rice. Like I've been saying before, because I've tried this before. It's just, there's something about it that feels that just kind of tones down that earthy grass flavor of the green tea. I like this a lot, and I have this all the time. Okay, so now we're going to try the chocolate. So let's get into that. DARS chocolate. This is not to be confused with the American brand Mars chocolate. This is Japanese. It is produced by Morinaga. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm excited to try it. In Japan, they make really good sweets, candies, and other types of desserts. So I'm hoping that this one will be good as well. I've really been trying to, when I do purchase chocolate, I've been trying to purchase it from outside of the United States. If you're American, you've probably grew up eating Hershey's, and you don't realize until you're older that you kind of become accustomed to that gross taste. And until I started trying chocolates from outside the US, I didn't realize how bad Hershey's really was. And there's a reason why it's bad. The reason why Hershey's is bad is because Hershey's, back in the World War II era, the company started using sour milk instead of fresh milk to save costs. Hence that bitter taste that you get with that chocolate. I looked up on the DARS website though, and it says it's made with fresh cream. So that's a good sign. All right, so let me open it. There's a little package like that. Okay, and it comes in these little squares. I want to drop it. You can see there, little individual squares that are already separated for you, which is pretty cool. So let's try it. Sorry, that noise is my cat. That's really good. Jimmy, sorry about that. Milky. Almost tastes like a hazelnut filled chocolate without the filling. It's just got that hazelnut flavor. Good amount of sweetness. Really creamy. Definitely far superior than any Hershey's product for sure. That's good. That's DARS chocolate, and I got it at Mitsuya, but I'm sure that, so you can buy it at Mitsuya near you, but I'm sure that you could probably buy this online. So next time you're purchasing chocolate, try a DARS candy bar. It's pretty good. So I'm actually going to be ending this review a little bit differently today. Thought it'd be fun to share with you a passage from this book I've been writing for a while now. To be honest with you, I don't know when I'm going to finish the book. Right now, my attention and focus is on completing this manga that I've been working on. So I want to complete that first before returning to this piece. But either way, I thought it'd be a nice or a fun thing to do to read you a passage from this work. And I chose this passage in particular because I don't think you need that much context to know what's going on. To give you a little bit of a background, this book is about a guy who joins a cult. And just to forewarn everyone, the passage that I'm reading is describing the main character's childhood, and it's pretty depressing, and you might find it sad. A lot of people, unfortunately, who join cults, they have troubled pasts, they have, really troubled childhoods because cult leaders like to prey on those people because they're vulnerable. So this passage is about the guy's childhood, which was anything but perfect, far from it. Another thing to consider, I make a reference or two that's a little outdated. It's supposed to be set sometime in the 70s, if anybody's confused by that. But anyway, if I haven't said this already, if you don't want to hear something depressing, close your ears or cancel out this review so you don't have to listen to it. But for those who are interested, I'm going to read it right now. So let's begin. In his memories was a track home, barely holding up by the cracking concrete sinking deeper into obscurity. Behind the window screen laid a safe haven for dust bunnies and animal dander. Despite the recurrent calamity, the house felt lonely and just as empty as the many Heineken bottles that eventually made their way onto the shag carpet. Cigarette stains lined the walls of the hallways and created streaks that functioned kind of like a pathway. This pathway led to his room, which wasn't much better than the living space. Surrounding him every night was the piled boxes filled with an unorganized arrangement of wet dog food cans, knickknacks, and any other thoughtless item that had no other place to be stored in the house. Some of the boxes, through years of inactivity, slowly compressed the ones that were unfortunate enough to be on the bottom. The frequent stomping of a disgruntled guest or the rare seismic activity would cause one of the top boxes to come crashing down. He was vulnerable to the dangers of the inside and was even less protected from what would lay outside of that door. The keyhole on his door was also broken, however, any lock wouldn't have protected him. The monster would eventually find a way in. He could always hear his mother in the next room in melody with the different masculine sounds shrilling. When the wee hours of the morning came, the smells that came from her room were finally masked by the suffocating smoke of Camel Reds. He managed to walk to school, always managed to arrive 5 minutes past the bell. Miss Dwyer let it slide the first couple times. She could tell by the way this kid smelled that his mother didn't know to wash her,
and with the bruises on his arm, neither did she think that his mother was ever going to buy one. But time passed and old Dwyer's patience grew thin. Her tactics changed, and now every day he was introduced with a loud applause, orchestrated by a malevolent, menopausal conductor. "Here he is, class, right on time. Let's give him a big hand." The goody two-shoes could never get enough of this. To them, it was like seeing Donny Osmond live in concert. To him, it was his first tragedy of the day, and that would be followed by many more. Eventually, though, at least once a day, he would find his moment of sanctuary. There was a Pakistani boy, Hamza, who was the only kid in his class who couldn't speak English. Hamza had to go to after-school school and before-school school just to get down the alphabet. Thinking this boy would never speak, or maybe even thinking that he couldn't speak, he made a ritual to punch the boy's rib cage at the blind spot next to the boy's bathroom. Every day he hit Hamza harder and harder until one day it was all over when he decided to use a sharp number 2 pencil. All right, guys. Well, that was it. It is a draft, a working draft, so keep that in mind. But I hope you enjoyed it. Curious as what your thoughts are. And I'll be doing a new review soon. So until then,